The hunter's last chase. Malik loved to run. From the moment his feet touched the ground in the morning, he was off racing the wind, dodging between trees, leaping over fences. People in the town used to joke, "That boy got wings on his feet." But Malik wasn't just fast. He was determined. "If I can run fast enough," he told his grandpa Otis one day, "I'll never lose." Grandpa Otis chuckled and leaned back in his rocking chair. But what you chasin', boy?" he asked. Malik shrugged. "Winning." Grandpa Otis nodded slowly. "Ain't nothing wrong with winning, but remember this, what you chase will either lift you up or wear you out." Malik didn't understand what that meant, but he smiled anyway. He had a race coming up, the biggest one of the year, and he was ready to chase victory. But that night, something happened that changed everything. As Malik lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, he heard it, a sound outside his window. A rustling. A whisper of wind. And then, footsteps. Soft. Slow. Steady. Malik sat up. Someone was outside. Then came the voice. Deep. Strong. Familiar. "Malik," it called. His heart pounded. He knew that voice. But that wasn't possible. Because the voice belonged to someone who had disappeared long ago. His father. Malik's breath caught in his chest. It couldn't be. His father, Darius, had been gone for years. Some said he left to chase a dream. Others whispered that he had lost his way. Malik had spent nights wondering, hoping, but never knowing. And now, his voice. "Malik," the voice called again, low and steady. "You ready to run?" Malik's feet itched to move, but something held him still. Was this real? Or was his mind playing tricks? Slowly, he crept to the window and peeked out. Nothing. The wind brushed through the trees, and the street lamp flickered. Maybe he imagined it. Maybe. "Meet me at the old track," the voice whispered, like the wind itself was speaking. Malik's heart pounded. The old track. That place hadn't been used in years. His father used to take him there to race when he was little. It was their place. He should wake up Grandpa Otis. He should stay inside. But, what if it really was his father? What if this was his chance to find him? Before he could change his mind, Malik pulled on his sneakers, grabbed his hoodie, and slipped out the door. The night air was cool, and the town was silent. Every step he took felt louder than it should. His legs wanted to sprint, but his heart told him to slow down. When he reached the track, the moonlight cast long shadows over the cracked pavement. The old bleachers stood empty, the paint peeling. And at the center of the track stood a figure, tall and still. Malik's breath caught again. "Dad," he whispered. The figure turned. And in the moonlight, Malik finally saw the face. But it wasn't his father. It was someone else. Someone Malik had never seen before. Malik's feet felt frozen to the ground. The man standing before him wasn't his father, but he looked like him. Same strong shoulders, same deep brown skin, same sharp eyes. Who are you?" Malik asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The man smiled, slow and knowing. "I knew you'd come, just like he said you would." Malik's heart pounded. "Who said?" The man didn't answer right away. Instead, he motioned toward the old bleachers. "Sit, son. I got a story to tell you." Malik hesitated. Every part of him wanted to run, but something told him to stay. So, he sat. The man lowered himself onto the bench beside Malik, stretching his legs out like he had all the time in the world. Then, he spoke. "Once, there was a hunter. Fast as the wind, sharp as a blade. People said he never lost a chase. If he set his eyes on something, he caught it. No matter how far. No matter how fast." Malik leaned forward. "But one day," the man continued, "he chased something he couldn't catch. Malik frowned. What was it? The man looked at him, his eyes deep and full of something Malik couldn't name. A dream. Malik blinked. A dream? The man nodded. The hunter thought if he ran hard enough, if he moved fast enough, he could grab hold of it. But the faster he ran, the further it slipped away. He ran past his home, past his family, past everything he ever loved until one day, he looked around and realized. The man paused, his voice suddenly softer. He was all alone. A breeze moved through the trees, rustling the leaves. Malik's chest felt tight. What happened to him? He asked. The man sighed. Some say he kept running, still chasing that dream. Others say he finally stopped, but by then, it was too late to turn back. Malik swallowed hard. What does this have to do with me? The man turned fully toward him now, his gaze steady. Because, Malik, your father was a hunter, too. He ran after something so hard, he lost sight of everything else. But before he left, he told me one thing. Malik's hands clenched into fists. What? The man's voice was gentle, but strong. He said, tell my boy not to run after the wrong things. Tell him to run toward home, not away from it. The words hit Malik deep, like a weight in his chest. All his life, he'd been running. But now, for the first time, he wondered. Was he running in the wrong direction? And if so, could he still turn back? Malik sat there, staring at the man. His father's words echoed in his head. Tell my boy not to run after the wrong things. Tell him to run toward home, not away from it. For the first time, he wasn't sure if winning races mattered as much as he thought. Malik took a deep breath. Why are you telling me this now? The man gave a slow nod. Because you still have a choice. He stood up, hands in his pockets. Your father wasn't a bad man, Malik. Just a man who ran too far, too fast, and forgot what really mattered. Malik's throat tightened. Is he gone? The man looked out over the track. I don't know. But I do know this, he didn't want you to follow his footsteps. Not the way he ran. Malik sat quietly, his mind racing. All this time, he thought running faster would make him stronger, would make him somebody. But what if strength wasn't just about speed? What if it was about knowing when to stop? The man turned to leave. Think about it, kid. Malik watched him walk into the darkness until he was gone. Then, with a deep breath, he stood and looked down at his feet, the same feet that had carried him so far. This time, he knew exactly where he needed to go. Home. He took off, running not to win, not to prove anything, but because he finally understood. He wasn't running away anymore. He was running toward something. And for the first time in his life, that felt like winning. The sun had barely risen when Malik stepped onto the porch. His legs ached, his breath was heavy, but his heart felt lighter than it ever had. The door creaked open, and there stood Grandpa Otis, arms crossed, eyes knowing. You done running, boy? Malik swallowed hard. No, sir. He shook his head. But I think I finally know where I'm running. Grandpa Otis studied him for a long moment. Then, slowly, a proud smile spread across his face. Come on inside, then, he said. Malik stepped through the door, feeling something settle inside him. He had spent so much time chasing wins, chasing dreams, chasing answers. But now, he understood. Some things weren't meant to be chased. Some things, family, love, purpose, were meant to be held on to. And that, Malik realized, was the real victory. The end. Moral of the story. Sometimes, we get so caught up in chasing something that we forget what truly matters. True success isn't about speed or winning, it's about knowing where you're going and why.